My ex-girlfriend wrote a book about my small weiner. A few days ago I got an email from my ex-girlfriend with the subject line, "I did it, thanks to you." The email had an attachment. The attachment was a manuscript. The manuscript was an autobiography written by my ex. The title of the autobiography instantly took me back to the time when my ex and I were still dating. I was inexperienced in bed back in those days, whereas my ex had more than enough experience. We enjoyed talking about past relationships and what the intimacy was like. It was never a thing in our relationship. Just casual conversation. My ex had more stories to tell and all of them were entertaining. I remember joking about how she should someday write a book. We laughed, made love, and a few months later, our relationship came to an end. It was sad, but alas, life continued. We're now back in the present. I finished reading the manuscript an hour ago. There were 72 chapters. Each chapter was about an individual person my ex had known intimately. No real names were mentioned. Only character labels. Like the surfer, the biker, the jock, the older man, etc. Some of the stories and characters I actually remembered based on the details my ex shared with me during our relationship. Others were totally new. But new or not, it was fun to read. Until I made it to chapter 39. My chapter. The turtle. Keep in mind, all the partners my ex mentioned in her manuscript had something specific about them that made the bedroom memorable for her. For example, the surfer always smelled like the ocean, which never failed to turn her on. The biker had gang tattoos from the neck down, but the one tattoo that always made her rip his clothes off was his pet hamster tattoo. Then there was me. A guy who couldn't swim, let alone surf, no tattoos, and with practically zero experience at the time. What was so memorable about me? Well, according to my chapter, the answer was my adorably small pee-pee. My ex described how she had almost forgotten what it felt like not to be unable to breathe during the act, before she met me. She compared my pee-pee to the head of a baby turtle, thus my chapter and character name. Based on what I was reading, not only did I have the smallest pee-pee compared to all the other people she's dated, but I also had the only pee-pee that somehow managed to look too innocent for intimacy. It didn't come across as if my ex was purposefully trying to insult me, but come on, I think most people can understand what a sensitive topic pee-pee size can be to any guy who's not hung like a horse. I still need to contact my ex and provide my feedback, but I'm gonna need some time to process what I read. It's not every day someone writes a book about your small pee-pee. Welcome back, insecurities I didn't think I would have at this age. Update: my ex-girlfriend wrote a book about my small weiner. Since my original post, I've become friends with one of the other guys my ex wrote about in her manuscript. He saw my post on Reddit and sent me a message. I didn't read or respond to his message for weeks because I was struggling to keep up with all the other messages in my inbox. When I finally opened his message, I realized he introduced himself as the innocent guy, which made me think of one of the chapters in the manuscript. I checked the manuscript, and sure enough, there it was, The Innocent Guy, chapter 52. The innocent guy's message to me had details about my ex and her manuscript that I never shared with anyone on the internet. Based on what he shared, I was convinced he was who he said he was. As we were comparing notes, it became clear to me that he hated his chapter more than I hated mine. The innocent guy, according to the manuscript, was ashamed to tell my ex that he had his V card before the two of them eventually had slept together, but he was proud to inform her that he probably made more babies than most people because he was a regular nut donor at the local fertility clinic. He also frequently used the suggestion box at the clinic to request that the Scooby-Doo adult parody be added to the adult content collection. He did not appreciate the fact that our ex decided to document the first time he had intimacy and add anecdotes about him that he shared with her in private. His response to my ex when he was done reading her so-called manuscript had repeated use of the B word. I knew we would be friends. We realized we have a lot more in common than the same crazy ex. We actually live close enough to see each other from time to time. Hopefully none of you end up reading about us in a book.